Hello and welcome back with me, Hamza Shaikh. I'm joined by two fantastic guests. I told you we're going to be speaking with some architects and some journalists. With me I have Dav Bansal, who is the partner at Glenn Howells Architects, and also I have Ellie Stathaki, who is the architecture editor at Wallpaper magazine. I'm going to get straight into some questions, guys. Dav, I'd love to know, so obviously you work at a very large practice, and sustainability seems to be quite a big agenda for this year's Stirling Prize. But I also know you were part of the judging panel. Can you tell us a little bit about how the process works for the Stirling Prize?
So we sit on the awards panel for the national awards, and I think a lot of it a lot of it means that the regional winners come forward to us, and the criteria for judging buildings now is sort of widened to a lot of sustainability issues, both from social and there's also environmental. And I think that sort of process means it takes a lot more debates, a lot more discussions, probably a lot more disagreements. But in a sense that what we are doing is looking at projects that are forward-thinking. And although these projects have been designed a few years ago, we're also looking forward. So we need to make sure that the shortlist, especially today's shortlist of 6 projects, are at the forefront of sustainability. They are actually pushing the boundaries and setting the benchmark going forward.
Yeah. Amazing. And on the topic of sustainability, and you mentioning that it's such a broad-ranging kind of terminology nowadays, and we're all trying to understand a bit more about it. Ellie, you write a lot about sustainability. How broad of a term is it? We're all kind of learning, aren't we, about sustainability?
I mean, as you said it's an extremely kind of complex concept. It touches everything from what was on the site before, how a building was built, what it was built with, what's going to happen after it's built, maintenance, everything. Also, there's the physical building, but there's also like the social elements around it, which is very important. Who the building is built for, how it's used. How the functions blend and are embedded in the local communities. So it's such a multi-level subject, and that's the difficulty, I think, around it. So how do you capture something so complex?
Definitely. I mean, it's such an important point, I think, especially as things are kind of evolving nowadays. I mentioned, Dav, you work at a very large practice. I also work at a very large practice at Gensler, and one thing we definitely need to watch for is having a sustainability framework, given how large our practice is. And especially because clients can be quite difficult to convince, right?
I think we're quite fortunate. The clients that we work with do have a shared sort of appreciation that the decisions we make, the collective decisions we make, do have sort of consequences to them. So I think with clients and now funders and people who are working together as a team, I think we all appreciate that this is this is top of the agenda. And so it's not something that can be ignored. It's something at the forefront. I think the difference between what's happening now and what happened previously is that we can now measure the sort of level of sustainability, and we can sort of test the sort of social and environmental sustainability early on, and that really helps for us and the clients and the teams to understand what difference are we making. So I think we're quite fortunate that I think a lot of our clients work with us and we share a vision.
That's amazing.
But look, it's always a challenging. I think what is challenging is how do we sort of implement it and sort of allow it to sort of be more of a consistent benchmark. So we all sort of know that we're trying to achieve a level.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Ellie, I'm gonna come to a bit more of a relaxed question, but I'm gonna make it a little bit personal. Who do you think is gonna win this year's Stirling Prize?
Oh, I knew you were gonna ask that. You know what? I can never guess. And I don't like to guess as well, because I'll come forward and just say that I haven't actually been to all the buildings.
Okay, let me change the question. What excites you about buildings? Because you write about buildings, right? So what excites you about buildings?
Well, I think what the judges are looking for and what would excite everybody is a building that kind of advances the role of architecture. I think it's really important that it's something that, looks great, yes, and many of us consume buildings through a picture these days. Not everybody has the chance to go to every single building of the Stirling Prize shortlist, and that's just one way of looking at it. But actually being there and seeing it used, I think that is what makes a difference. I mean, I've been to one, for example, quite recently, the Sands End Community Centre, and I went not on a press tour, just a random day, went for a coffee, and it looked really kind of well used. You could see people loved it. There were dance classes on, and I genuinely felt like a kind of loved building.
That is a favourite one for sure.